What happens when a talk show crosses the line from commentary to defamation? Carrie Underwood has filed a $900 million lawsuit against the talk show, claiming their comments about her career were false and damaging. What started as a performance at Donald Trump's inauguration has turned into a legal battle that could reshape media accountability. Did The View defame Underwood, or is this just media speculation? Will this case force talk shows to change how they discuss celebrities? And if Underwood wins, what does it mean for the industry? Let's dive in. Carrie Underwood just did what no one expected. She's taking The View to court in a legal battle that could shake up the entire talk show industry. The country music superstar has filed a $900 million defamation lawsuit against the long-running daytime show, and this isn't just about setting the record straight. It's about accountability. For years, The View has faced criticism for spreading misleading narratives about public figures, but they've always managed to brush off backlash with half-hearted apologies. This time, though, they may have met their match. The lawsuit stems from comments made on The View regarding Underwood's decision to perform at Donald Trump's presidential inauguration in 2017. A performance that, by all accounts, should have been seen as nothing more than a routine musical appearance at a historic event. But The View didn't see it that way. Instead, the hosts took her participation and spun it into a political controversy, suggesting that she had aligned herself with Trump's policies. They didn't stop there. They claimed that she was losing fans, regretting the decision, and even hinted that she had destroyed her career. Statements that, according to Underwood's legal team, were not only misleading but outright false. Defamation lawsuits in the entertainment industry aren't uncommon, but they're rarely this high profile. Underwood isn't just looking for a public apology, she's demanding nearly $1 billion in damages. That number alone is enough to send shockwaves through the industry. If The View loses this case, it won't just be a financial disaster. It could change the way talk shows discuss celebrities forever. For years, media personalities have hidden behind phrases like allegedly and sources say to avoid legal consequences. But if this lawsuit proves that even daytime TV personalities can be held accountable for reckless statements, it could set a precedent that reshapes how public figures are discussed in the media. So far, The View has remained relatively quiet about the lawsuit, but behind the scenes, sources suggest they're scrambling to figure out their next move. A case of this magnitude isn't something they can just laugh off. Even a settlement could mean a massive financial hit, not just for the show itself, but for its parent company, the American Broadcasting Company. Legal experts are already weighing in, with some arguing that Underwood has a strong case, while others believe proving actual defamation, especially against a public figure, could be difficult. To win, Underwood's team will have to prove that The View's statements were not only false but also damaging enough to impact her career. That's where things get complicated. While Underwood's popularity has remained strong, even small reputational hits can affect endorsement deals, ticket sales, and industry relationships. If her lawyers can successfully argue that The View's statements caused real harm, they might have a solid argument for defamation. The lawsuit is still in its early stages, but one thing is clear. This isn't just another celebrity feud. This is a legal battle with real stakes, and it's one that could have consequences far beyond The View. The entertainment industry is watching closely. If Underwood is successful, other celebrities who have been misrepresented by the media might feel emboldened to take legal action of their own. In recent years, we've seen high-profile defamation cases make headlines, including Johnny Depp's legal battle against Amber Heard and Fox News settling a massive defamation lawsuit with Dominion voting systems. These cases have shown that media outlets and public figures aren't untouchable when it comes to spreading false or misleading information. Could The View be the next to face serious legal repercussions? Right now, Underwood's team is keeping their strategy close to the chest, but insiders suggest they have a strong case lined up. The lawsuit documents reportedly include transcripts of The View's statements, analysis of how those claims affected Underwood's career, and expert opinions on the impact of public defamation. If this goes to trial, it won't just be a fight over words, it'll be an examination of how much responsibility media figures have when discussing celebrities. But let's take a step back. Was The View's commentary really that damaging, or is this a case of a celebrity taking things too far? The show has built its brand on discussing controversial topics, often sparking debates that get heated. It's not uncommon for them to criticize politicians, artists, and public figures, sometimes harshly. In their eyes, they were simply sharing opinions about Underwood's performance at the inauguration, something they do with nearly every major event. But did they cross the line into defamation? That's the key question that this lawsuit will have to answer. It's also important to note that defamation cases involving celebrities are notoriously hard to win. Public figures have a higher legal standard when it comes to proving defamation. Unlike private individuals, they must show that the statements made about them were not just false, but also made with actual malice. That means Underwood's team will have to prove that The View either knew they were spreading false information or acted with reckless disregard for the truth. That's not an easy thing to prove. But given the nature of the comments made, her lawyers might just have enough evidence to make a compelling case. As the lawsuit unfolds, one thing is certain: this case is bigger than just Carrie Underwood and The View. It raises important questions about the role of media, the boundaries of free speech, and whether celebrities have any real recourse when false information is spread about them. The View has faced backlash before, but if Underwood wins this lawsuit, it could mark the first time they actually face serious consequences. With the legal battle just beginning, both sides are preparing for what could be a lengthy and highly publicized case. Will The View try to settle, or will they fight this in court? More importantly, if Underwood wins, what does this mean for other celebrities who have been misrepresented by the media? That's what makes this case so fascinating. It's not just about one performance or one lawsuit. It's about the potential shift in the way media personalities discuss public figures. Could this be the beginning of the end for reckless celebrity gossip on talk shows? That remains to be seen. But one thing is certain: this lawsuit is just getting started. Despite the controversy surrounding the lawsuit, one thing is certain: Carrie Underwood's decision to perform at Donald Trump's presidential inauguration in 2017 became a defining moment in how the media, including The View, perceived her. The performance itself was not unusual. Throughout history, artists from various backgrounds have sung at inaugurations, regardless of their personal political beliefs. Beyoncé sang for Barack Obama. Lady Gaga performed for Joe Biden. But when Carrie took the stage to sing America the Beautiful, the reaction from certain corners of the media was anything but neutral. The View was quick to weigh in, and the discussion quickly turned into speculation about Carrie's political affiliations. Some panelists suggested that by agreeing to perform, she had aligned herself with Trump's policies, an assertion that ignored the fact that many artists have historically performed at such events without endorsing the administration. The comments made on the show implied that her decision had alienated a significant portion of her fan base, leading to backlash that would harm her career. While some country music fans are known for leaning conservative, The View framed the situation as though she had permanently damaged her mainstream appeal. What made this particularly damaging, according to Underwood's legal team, was the manner in which the claims were presented. The discussion did not just revolve around whether performing at the inauguration was the right move. It made definitive statements about her career and public perception. Some hosts suggested she would struggle to recover from the backlash, that she was already seeing a decline in support, and that she might regret the decision. These statements went beyond opinion and entered the territory of claims that could be fact-checked. The problem is, no verifiable evidence supported the idea that Carrie Underwood was experiencing any kind of career downfall. Her album sales remained strong. Her concert tickets continued to sell. She did not publicly express regret for her performance. Yet the way The View framed their discussion created the impression that she was scrambling for damage control. Underwood's team argues that this characterization had real-world consequences, painting her in a misleading light that could have influenced public perception of her. The broader issue here extends beyond Carrie herself. This was not the first time The View had faced accusations of distorting events or making controversial statements about celebrities. The show, known for its candid discussions, has often walked a fine line between commentary and speculation. In this case, the claim is that they crossed that line by presenting misleading statements as fact. Defamation cases involving media personalities are complex because they involve questions of free speech, journalistic responsibility, and the burden of proof. Carrie Underwood's lawsuit highlights a common concern among celebrities: how media narratives can shape public perception, sometimes in ways that are not based on truth. When a talk show with millions of viewers states that an artist is losing fans or suffering professional consequences, even if it is not true, it can create a ripple effect. Industry executives, brand sponsors, and even casual fans might take those statements at face value. While Underwood's status as a major artist likely insulated her from serious damage, the argument her legal team is making is that misinformation, even if unintentional, has consequences. The discussion on The View also raised a broader debate about whether performers should face backlash for appearing at politically charged events. Some argue that an artist's presence at an inauguration is a professional engagement rather than a political statement. Others believe that participation carries an implied endorsement, particularly in highly polarized times. Underwood, for her part, never publicly stated any political affiliation, nor did she comment on Trump's policies before or after the performance. Yet her decision to sing for the event was interpreted through a political lens, something that has become increasingly common in today's media landscape. The way information spreads in the digital age adds another layer to this issue. Talk show discussions do not stay confined to television audiences. They are clipped, shared, and analyzed on social media, often with added commentary that further distorts the original context. This amplification effect means that a single conversation can reach millions more people than the original broadcast audience, increasing the potential impact of misleading claims. The View's discussion about Carrie Underwood's inauguration performance did not just air once and disappear. It was dissected, debated, and turned into a larger narrative. While public figures are no strangers to scrutiny, the difference in this case is the scale of the legal response. Most celebrities let media speculation slide, either because they do not want to engage in prolonged disputes or because they assume that audiences will move on to the next controversy. But Underwood's lawsuit suggests that she sees this as more than just an offhand media misstep. Her legal team is arguing that statements made on a national platform have real-world consequences, and they want to hold The View accountable for what they see as a damaging and inaccurate portrayal. At the heart of this case is a fundamental question. How much responsibility should media outlets have for the narratives they push? If The View's statements about Carrie Underwood's career downturn were based on speculation rather than fact, does that constitute defamation, or is it simply an opinion-based discussion protected under free speech laws? These are the legal gray areas that make cases like this difficult to navigate, especially when the person involved is a public figure. What happens next could have significant implications, not just for Carrie Underwood and The View, but for the entire talk show industry. If this lawsuit gains traction, it might force media outlets to be more cautious about how they frame discussions about celebrities. Could this be the beginning of a shift in how media personalities discuss public figures? That remains to be seen, but with a legal battle now underway, the stakes are higher than ever. Legal experts are now weighing in on Carrie Underwood's lawsuit against The View, and the case is raising serious questions about how talk shows handle discussions about public figures. Defamation cases, especially those involving celebrities, are notoriously difficult to prove. But Underwood's legal team appears confident that they have a strong argument. The key issue at the center of this case is whether the statements made on The View cross the line from opinion into false statements presented as fact. If Underwood's lawyers can establish that the show's comments were not only misleading but also caused tangible harm, they may have a compelling case. For a defamation claim to succeed, Underwood's team must prove that The View's statements about her were factually incorrect, that they caused real damage, and that the show either knew the statements were false or acted with reckless disregard for the truth. This is where the case becomes particularly complicated. Talk shows often operate in a space that blends news, opinion, and entertainment. While hosts may express strong views, the legal distinction between personal commentary and statements presented as fact is what will be examined in court. Public figures face a higher standard when it comes to defamation claims. Unlike private individuals, they must prove actual malice, meaning that The View either knowingly spread false information or acted with a reckless disregard for the truth. This legal standard was established by the United States Supreme Court in the landmark case New York Times v. Sullivan, which set a high bar for public figures seeking to claim defamation. However, Underwood's team seems to believe that they can meet this burden of proof by demonstrating that the statements made on The View were more than just casual speculation. One of the strongest points in Underwood's favor is that The View's statements about her career struggles after the inauguration performance were not based on verifiable data. They claimed she was losing fans, that she regretted her decision, and that she might struggle to recover. Yet Underwood's sales and popularity remained steady, with no real evidence that she faced any decline due to the performance. If her legal team can show that these claims were not based on factual evidence, it could strengthen the argument that the show engaged in reckless reporting. At the same time, The View's defense will likely focus on their right to free speech, and the argument that their discussion was a matter of opinion rather than an assertion of fact. Defamation defenses often hinge on the distinction between factual claims and opinion-based commentary. If The View can successfully argue that their statements were simply speculation or personal views, they may be able to avoid liability. This is why defamation cases involving talk shows rarely result in courtroom victories for the plaintiffs. Despite these challenges, Underwood's legal team appears to be taking an aggressive approach. Reports indicate that they have gathered transcripts, video evidence, and expert testimony to demonstrate how The View's comments may have influenced public perception. They may also argue that the show's audience, which reaches millions of viewers, gave their statements significant weight, increasing the potential damage. Unlike gossip blogs or social media commentary, daytime television still holds credibility in the eyes of many viewers, and this could be a key factor in the case. Beyond the legal complexities, the case has sparked broader conversations about accountability in the media. Talk shows thrive on controversy, and discussions about celebrities often walk a fine line between criticism and misinformation. While public figures expect scrutiny, there is a growing concern about how easily narratives can be shaped by selective framing and speculation. If Underwood's lawsuit moves forward, it could force a re-evaluation of how media personalities handle discussions about celebrities, particularly when making claims about their careers and reputations. There is also the question of whether The View will attempt to settle the case rather than face a public trial. High-profile defamation cases often result in settlements to avoid drawn-out legal battles that could further damage reputations. If The View and its network see the case as a significant risk, they may opt to negotiate rather than take their chances in court. However, early indications suggest that Underwood's team is more interested in holding the show accountable rather than reaching a quiet resolution. The case also raises concerns for other media outlets that discuss celebrities. If Underwood wins, it could set a precedent that makes talk shows more cautious about the claims they make. It is no secret that many programs rely on provocative discussions to drive viewership. But if legal action becomes a real threat, we could see a shift in how these shows approach their coverage. Some experts believe that a victory for Underwood could encourage other celebrities to take similar action against media outlets that they believe have spread false information about them. At the same time, there are those who argue that celebrities taking legal action against media outlets could have unintended consequences. Free speech advocates warn that broad defamation claims could lead to increased caution in news reporting, potentially discouraging important discussions. While Underwood's case is specific to statements that allegedly misrepresented facts, there is always a concern that increased legal scrutiny could make media companies more hesitant to engage in critical discussions about public figures. Regardless of how the case unfolds, it is clear that this lawsuit is about more than just one artist and one talk show. It is part of a larger debate about media responsibility, celebrity reputation management, and the fine line between free speech and misinformation. If the case moves forward, it will likely attract significant attention from legal experts, media analysts, and the entertainment industry as a whole. The outcome could have far-reaching implications, potentially changing how talk shows and news outlets handle celebrity discussions. For now, both sides appear to be preparing for a legal battle that could take months or even years to resolve. The View has yet to release an official response beyond their initial dismissal of the claims. But as the lawsuit progresses, they may be forced to take a more direct approach. Meanwhile, Underwood's legal team remains firm in their stance, arguing that this case is about setting the record straight and ensuring that misleading narratives have consequences. What happens next will depend on the strength of the legal arguments presented in court. Will Underwood's team be able to prove that The View's statements caused real harm? Or will the show successfully argue that their discussion was nothing more than protected opinion? The stakes are high, not just for those directly involved, but for the broader media landscape. With the lawsuit now in motion, all eyes are on what could be one of the most significant defamation cases in recent entertainment history. As the lawsuit moves forward, The View now faces mounting pressure to respond in a way that minimizes potential legal and reputational damage. While the show is no stranger to controversy, this case has placed them in an unprecedented situation. Defamation lawsuits are not just about public perception. They come with legal risks that could lead to serious financial and professional consequences. If the lawsuit progresses to trial, The View's legal team will have to build a strong defense against claims that their statements about Carrie Underwood were misleading and harmful. In the past, when faced with backlash over controversial remarks, The View has often relied on public apologies or clarifications to diffuse the situation. However, a lawsuit of this magnitude cannot be handled with a simple on-air statement. The network's legal team is likely weighing multiple options. Should they fight the case in court, risking a prolonged legal battle, or should they attempt to settle to avoid further damage? A settlement could be seen as an admission of fault, something The View may want to avoid, but a public trial could expose them to even greater risks. Meanwhile, the public response to the lawsuit has been divided. Some believe that Underwood's case represents a necessary pushback against irresponsible media coverage, arguing that celebrities should not have to endure false narratives about their careers. Others, however, view the lawsuit as an overreach, suggesting that it could set a dangerous precedent for media freedom. Talk shows like The View have long operated in a space that blends opinion and commentary, and critics of the lawsuit worry that holding them legally accountable for discussions about public figures could have unintended consequences. At the same time, The View's audience is watching closely to see how the show will address the lawsuit. So far, the panel has not directly commented on the case, which is a notable departure from their usual approach. In past controversies, the hosts have been quick to defend themselves or clarify their remarks. This time, their silence suggests that the network's legal team has advised them to avoid making statements that could be used against them in court. The network's handling of this case could also have broader implications for daytime television. If The View is forced to change the way it discusses celebrities, it could signal a shift in how talk shows operate. Many programs thrive on discussing high-profile figures, often making strong claims about their personal lives, careers, and reputations. If Underwood's lawsuit results in legal consequences for The View, other shows may begin to approach their coverage of public figures with greater caution. In addition to legal concerns, the financial stakes in this case cannot be ignored. A $900 million lawsuit is significant by any standard, and even a reduced settlement would be a substantial financial hit. While The View is a flagship program with a dedicated following, its future could be in jeopardy if the lawsuit results in a large payout. Networks are businesses first, and if the financial risks outweigh the benefits, executives may be forced to reconsider the show's future. Legal analysts have pointed out that defamation cases rarely end in full payouts, but even a fraction of the lawsuit's value would be a major blow. If Underwood's team can demonstrate that the statements made on The View caused reputational harm, they may be able to argue for damages that go beyond financial loss, including emotional distress and harm to professional relationships. These factors could influence the final outcome of the case, shaping how damages are calculated if the lawsuit is successful. The View's legal team may attempt to argue that the statements made on the show were opinions rather than factual claims. This defense has been used in past defamation cases, as opinion-based discussions are generally protected under free speech laws. However, Underwood's legal team will likely counter that the statements were presented as fact, giving audiences the impression that she was facing actual career consequences from her inauguration performance. If the court finds that the statements were misleading enough to be considered defamatory, The View could be held accountable for the impact of their words. Beyond the legal battle, this case raises questions about the ethical responsibilities of media figures. While talk shows are not held to the same journalistic standards as news organizations, they still have influence over public perception. Discussions on popular programs can shape narratives that extend beyond the original broadcast, reaching audiences through social media, news outlets, and online forums. This amplification effect means that even a passing comment can take on a life of its own, affecting public figures in ways that go beyond the initial conversation. As the lawsuit progresses, media organizations are likely watching closely to see how the case develops. If The View is found liable, it could lead to increased scrutiny on how talk shows and other entertainment programs present information about celebrities. While opinion and commentary are essential components of these discussions, the case may prompt networks to establish clearer guidelines for separating speculation from factual claims. This shift could impact not only daytime talk shows, but also late-night programs, tabloid journalism, and social media-based commentary. For Carrie Underwood, this case represents more than just a legal dispute. It is a stand against what she perceives as a pattern of irresponsible media coverage. Unlike many public figures who choose to ignore or brush off misleading statements, she has taken a direct approach by challenging The View in court. Whether she wins or loses, the lawsuit itself sends a message that celebrities are increasingly willing to push back against narratives they believe are damaging or false. With the stakes continuing to rise, the coming months will be critical for both sides. Will The View attempt to settle quietly, or will they take the risk of fighting the case in court? More importantly, what impact will this case have on media discussions about public figures going forward? As more details emerge, it is becoming clear that the outcome of this lawsuit could reshape the boundaries between media commentary and legal accountability, in ways that extend far beyond this single case. With the lawsuit now fully in motion, both Carrie Underwood and The View are heading into what could be one of the most closely watched legal battles in entertainment media. The stakes are not just about financial damages or public apologies. This case could redefine how talk shows and media personalities discuss public figures. If Underwood is successful, it may force networks and daytime programs to reconsider the way they frame narratives about celebrities, ensuring that discussions remain grounded in facts rather than speculation. The View now faces a difficult decision. If they continue to remain silent, it could be seen as an admission of guilt. But if they respond too aggressively, they risk adding fuel to the controversy. Their legal team is likely advising them to tread carefully, knowing that anything they say publicly could be used against them in court. Talk shows rely on public trust, and even if the case does not end in a ruling against them, the damage to their reputation could be long-lasting. Meanwhile, media outlets and industry professionals are keeping a close eye on the potential ripple effects of this lawsuit. If Underwood wins, it could encourage other public figures to challenge what they believe to be defamatory statements made about them on television or online platforms. In recent years, we have already seen a shift toward greater accountability in media, with high-profile defamation cases making headlines. This lawsuit could add to that momentum, signaling that even opinion-based talk shows are not immune from legal consequences if their discussions cross into harmful territory. At the same time, there are concerns that a ruling in Underwood's favor could have unintended consequences for media freedom. Some legal experts warn that a broad interpretation of defamation in this case could discourage open discussions about public figures, leading to a more cautious and sanitized approach to celebrity news. While no one supports false or misleading statements, there is a fine line between responsible media coverage and overly restrictive legal standards that could limit free expression. As both sides prepare for the next legal steps, the entertainment industry is left wondering what this case will mean for the future of media discourse. Will talk shows begin to self-censor to avoid lawsuits? Or will they double down on their right to discuss public figures as they always have? The View has been a staple of daytime television for years, but this lawsuit could mark a turning point in how audiences and industry professionals perceive its role in shaping narratives. Regardless of the outcome, this case has already sparked a much larger conversation about media responsibility and the power of words. Underwood's decision to take legal action is a rare move for a celebrity of her stature, and it underscores the growing push for accountability in an era where misinformation can spread quickly. Whether this lawsuit results in a victory, a settlement, or a drawn-out legal fight, its impact on media and entertainment will be felt long after the final ruling is made. With that, we have reached the end of today's video. If you have come this far with us, be sure to check out other videos on the channel.